Welcome back, everybody. We're going to wrap up this conversation today with the executive director of the grassroots army that is Heritage Action for America, Jessica Anderson. It is good to have you here.
Great to be here.
We've been having a conversation about laying a new foundation for American greatness. A lot of people come out of this election thinking, well, maybe we got to hold back our ambitions. We didn't get what we wanted out of the election. You don't agree with that at all, do you?
No, John, I actually think the exact opposite of that, which is the Biden administration thinks that they have a mandate from the American people, and they don't. It would be a mistake to assume he had it after 2020, and he certainly doesn't have it after the results of this last week for the 2022 midterms. Instead, what I believe to be true is that the American people are so fed up with the business as usual on the left and on the right, and they want to see something different. They want to know that there's a real governing agenda that will help their lives, that will put their families first, their kids first, actually allow parents to have control over what their kids are learning, so many more issues. And so when we talk about what new foundation is needed, that's what we mean. We mean real leadership on the real issues and an actual clear governing agenda for where we want America to be over the next 5, 10, 15 years.
There's a great line in the movie Apollo 13, failure is not an option. I think for Republicans, status quo is not an option. What does the grassroots do to make sure that message is relentlessly delivered so they're not tempted to fall back to their natural tendency, which is let's not rock the boat in Washington?
Well, first, I think we have to hold the ground that we've gained. There has been so many incredible strides by the conservative grassroots over the last 18 months at the state level. Look at the election integrity bills that have passed. Look at the pro-life measures that have passed. The anti-ESG, so many great school choice bills. Arizona just signed universal school choice in a way that Arizona never thought they were going to do that a decade ago. And so there is good work that has been going on at the state level. Now we have to do more of that. We have to take that energy, couple it with our frustrations at the federal level, and plow full steam ahead. And I actually think because we've retired Nancy Pelosi now, she's given up her gavel. Yep. Because we've retired her, we're going to serve as the accountability block to Biden. His legislative agenda is effectively over. And that's a good thing. And we have to use that now to get even more gains, put conservatives in leadership positions, on committees, using the power of FOIA and investigations, making the rules package so it works for the American people. I mean, there's a laundry list of things that we need to get done over the next 90 days.
When you look at the agenda and you look at the fact that it's still going to be divided government, it seems like the power of the purse is the big hammer that Republicans can exercise. They can do everything from the border to parents' rights through the budget process. What are the top priorities you want them to use that power for?
That's right, John. The budget is where you put your policy priorities. Plain and simple. I was taught that very early in my career. The budget is where you put your policy priorities. So if Republicans are serious about securing the border, the first thing that they'll do is they'll drop a border security package on day one, and they'll title it H.R. 1. And that will effectively close the border, provide additional resources and funding for the law enforcement to do their job to secure our border. It'll close all the loopholes that the Biden administration has just run roughshod over. And it will tighten up all of the asylum claims and how the asylum process works on the border right now. That security package is critical if we're actually going to be serious and follow through to the American people what all these Republican candidates have promised. They've all said they would secure the border. They need to do that and put that as their number one priority, H.R. 1. And then from there, John, there's a number of issues to tackle. You can look at big tech and the need to put big tech in check. That could look like Section 230 reforms. We've got some great model legislation. That's a start for Congress to get their arms around. On the issue of China, I think you're actually going to see a desire for Republicans, probably for the first time really in over a decade, to get serious about making a China-resistant American economy. And to do that means we're going to have some trade-offs. Things are going to cost more because we're going to buy American. And every single grassroots conservative I talk to says, absolutely, I will pay $2 more for these goods to know that they're not propping up the CCP. So those are three things that Congress can do immediately: the border, big tech, and China.
The most tangible thing people feel from the Biden era more than anything else is inflation, because it affects every part of their life. People are making a choice between filling the grocery cart or the gas tank. What can be done in the short term to alleviate that pressure, start to put the economy back to a more normal pace?
The absolute easiest thing that could be done is opening up American energy. The fact that the Biden administration closed the Keystone Pipeline, halted drilling in America from coast to coast, is just a complete negligence, frankly, of understanding how the energy market impacts our economy. And so all of these efforts that they've made that are very short-sighted, very short-term, of, unleashing the reserve and buying more barrels of Brent, none of that is real. He has to unlock and allow American energy to flourish. And so Congress plays a role here, because they can push and open up through the DOE and through the appropriations process the ability to have American energy once again.
Yeah, it just seems such a rational thing, and yet it keeps getting kicked down the road with this president.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't. No, it's simple economics. Some of the greatest experiments of the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years have occurred through federalism. States' rights, states experimenting, finding ways to empower parents, to change security and policing in the country. What are some of the examples you see in the states that you hope people in Washington start to adopt?
Well, I'm so encouraged, because it seems like we're finally getting serious about education freedom reform.
Yep.
And that means we're not relying on the federal government to deal with education. We're actually encouraging and pushing that back to the states, frankly, where it belongs. So the state governments that have put universal education savings accounts on the table for the 2023 session, that's huge. Governor Stitt has committed to doing that in Oklahoma. That's going to be a big deal. In Texas, we're going to see Governor Abbott follow through on a big campaign promise he had to bring school choice to Texas. If we can get those 2 states done, that will have a ripple effect across the country. Because at the end of the day, John, what we want is the money to follow the student. We don't want it shackled to the federal government, to then the state government. We want to bust that up. Yep. So there's no role for the federal government to have, other than very, very slim with Native American tribes and with DC. That's it. Everything else needs to be at the state level. And so I think this is a huge opportunity for governors. All those governors that are coming off of big wins from this last week, they need to just dig in deep and double down when it comes to education reform.
They got a mandate.
They got a mandate. It's clear.
Yeah.
Parents are not going away. As a parent, I've got 2 kids. I'm telling you what, there is no way we're letting off the gas on this issue at all. We want our kids well protected. When we drop them off for school, we want to know they're being taught civics, math, Latin, education, actual literary schools. We don't want this indoctrination that's coming through critical race theory.
Do we get to a point where we can make the Department of Education not have to be a cabinet agency more because we trust our states?
I think so. And I think 2024, that's actually going to be a huge signal which Republicans on the presidential ticket are running to actually abolish the Department of Education. So if the states can handle it the way that we want them to and prove that ground the next 2 years, why do we have a federal Department of Ed? We don't need it.
Yeah, such an amazing energy here with the Sentinels. Jessica, what you've created, the left had this for a decade. You have caught up very quickly for conservatives. Remarkable event here. I've just been blown away by the energy, enthusiasm, and the direction that people have. Congratulations.
Thank you, John, and thanks for being part of it. Sentinel Nation is fierce.
It is.
We're relentless optimists, and we're not going away. We know that America needs to change, and we want to be part of that.
Well, that's something I think all of our audience is nodding their heads at right now. Folks, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been an honor to have this great conversation right here in the great state of Texas with all the great Sentinels of Heritage Action for America. Have a great evening.